Anyways, let me finish with the story I was talking about with the taxi cab driving. So I used to drive a taxi, and certain people would get you to their destination, and then they would take off running, and you'd have to go and chase them down. Call the cops, do everything that you needed to do to get your money. And most of the cops in Forest Park were really good about making the person pay for it. Even if they didn't have money, they had to sign some paper saying that they would pay it. I had a couple of people get arrested for that. I had a couple of weirdos get in my cab and they started talking trash and, threatening or whatever. Oh, I'm going to do this and do that. And this one couple, I used to hate to pick them up. I did. I always spoke very positive to them, just like I do everybody else. But these two people, they just didn't even care to hear positive people. They were definitely Debbie Downers, Donald and Debbie Downer, because they just did not want to have any kind of positive hearings in their life. And I just didn't like to pick them up. And then they would argue about how much the fare was. Well, so-and-so took me from Walmart and brought me home, and I only paid $6, and the ride was $10, And I told them straight out, it's $10, period. It's $10. You can't pay me $6 and be happy with that because it's not $6, it's $10. And they would just argue when I wasn't the boss, because I was the boss at one time. When I wasn't the boss, they would call my boss and say, oh, well, he charged me more than everybody else, blah, 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 blah. And I showed it right out to my boss. I showed her that it is $10, and she called them back and told them it's $10. Well, they ended up leaving finally, and I was happy for that. There was this guy and his mother. I swear they never took a shower in their lifetime. They smelled every bit of it, and we as drivers did not like to go and pick them up. And somehow or another, I got stuck with them a lot of times that they called. But I would always put a face mask on, clothespin on my nose. I carried a lot of colognes and air fresheners and things like that, to where whenever they got in the car and they stunk like that, whenever they left, I would spray it all down. It would smell fantastic in there after they left, because they were just like Pigpen in the Charlie Brown series. There was a cloud of dust that followed these people wherever they went. It was a mother and a son, and I don't know. I mean, I really don't even understand that, but they just would not take a bath, and you could tell. They lived in an apartment that had a tree fall on the roof, and I was asked inside of the house one time. I didn't want to go, but I did go inside, and I seen these branches from that tree falling, sticking right out of their ceiling. Like they weren't even worried about the fact that there was a big old gaping hole in their roof. And they were renting. And it was just incredible. And they finally moved away. And I was happy for that case too. There was this one weirdo got in my car one time, and he started talking about how he had killed somebody and this and that. And I got to the next available store and I let him out. He said, oh, you can't just leave me anywhere. I said, yes, I can. And I just did. And I didn't even ask him for money. I just left him right there at the store. I didn't even want to deal with him, because you're going to talk to me about killing somebody and you're sitting behind me in a car? Nah, that ain't happening. I've had people threaten me before. a girl and her boyfriend got in the car. She was directly behind me, so I didn't understand this guy, but he was a Puerto Rican guy, and he's like, "Oh, stop looking at my woman." I said, "Looking at your woman for what?" And she wasn't even beautiful. I mean, and there was nothing beautiful about her. I mean, it just wasn't. I'm not trying to be ugly on her. She just didn't have it for me, you know? So why would I even look at her? But he was like real conscious of guys looking at it. You know, he's the type of guy, and I dealt with a guy like this in Walmart one time. He was Hispanic also, and he walked by with his girlfriend, and then he turns around to me and said, "Stop looking at my woman before I whoop your behind," you know. Well, he said a little bit different than that, but we'll just go with that one. And I kind of frowned at him looking, you know. Now, she was a beautiful woman. I saw that, but I wouldn't stare at a girl like that. You know, you get all kind of things running through your head when you're staring too long. So I briefly look at people, but I'm not like one of these wandering starers where I just stare and stare and stare. No, that's not me. But anyways, this guy went on and on. So finally I said, well, if you want to get to your destination, you need to just sit there and be quiet. Because I ain't looking at your woman. I have my own woman. And I am not looking at yours. And so finally he kept quiet, and we got to the place, and when he got out, he gave me a $5 tip. I guess because I stood up to him, because I wasn't going to take that from anybody. You know, a lot of these guys, they try to intimidate you thinking that you're looking at their woman, you know. If you got to carry around a woman on your arm, and there is other guys that you're afraid of for taking her away from you, then you need to move on to another woman. You should be confident with a woman. If guys are looking at her, you should have a different attitude, a different approach, you know, be like, yeah, she's mine, you know, she belongs with me. And, you know, you can look at her all you want, but you can't touch the candy. You know, so that's how it is a lot of times. I've had some real whopping stories as far as driving certain people in taxi cabs. And you'd be surprised, even a lot of famous people will call a taxi to save money than to call a limousine or something like that. They'll call a taxi, and they'll get in your car, and you'll look at them and say, well, I know this person from somewhere. And, you know, you'll realize who they are, and you'll be like, wow. But, yeah, it's a real big mess sometimes, you know. People just are going to be who they are. I had this one guy, he swore up and down every day that I was getting him to his job late in the morning. And I would always get him like 15 minutes early. But he would always call and tell my boss, he got me there with only 2 minutes to spare, and I had to hurry up, and I kept getting talked to because he had me late, and blah, 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 and it wasn't true. So, I mean, people will lie on you all day long, but I did love driving a taxi. A lot of people would call and request yours truly, because I'm very down to earth, and I can be funny. I've been told that many times, as I've said in some of my videos. I've been told that I'm a funny guy, and you know, they just love being around me. They love my energy. They love being around me, and they wouldn't do anything to keep from riding with me, because they would always call and request me. And that's why I made more money than all these other taxi cab drivers, because I was like that, you know. No matter what, they would call, hey, give me Danny. I want Danny. I want Danny. I was 07 and I was 02. Give me 02. I want 02. I don't want anybody else but 02, 02, 02. And I felt really good about that. But that was part of my taxi life. I got a lot more stories as far as taxis are concerned. So I will give you a few more taxi stories in the near future. Anyways, I love you. Love yourself. Love God, and by all means, love each other. Until next time, love, peace, and soul.